nerds, 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 nerds.
What is up, everybody out there? Matt from both Nerd Initiative and Hopspeak News here. I have a friendly, familiar face right here. If you've been reading anything from Masterminds to Kill All Immortals, both part 1 and 2, and then you just have seen this man everywhere, whether it is a WonderCon or upcoming, hopefully, San Diego Comic-Con, any convention out there in the West Coast. And if you are familiar with Hopspeak News, you know Zack Kaplan always has something good to talk about. So we are here today talking about Only the Savage Survive, coming from Dark Horse Comics on June 3rd. Final order cutoff is Monday, April 27th. Before you do so, make sure you subscribe. You then also run to your comic book shops and say, hey, this book right here, we are going to go into it. Not too much detail. We want to leave some things out there for, you to pick up that fresh copy. But Zach, welcome back. Man, like I said, before we hopped on here, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Yeah, great to be back with you, buddy.
You've been busy, man. I mean, these series are just crushing it. How are you staying sane with everything going on?
No, I'm not sane. I'm very underwater right now with work, to be real with you guys, but I'm loving it. It's been, we're wrapping up, Masterminds and Kill All Immortals 2 right now, and in the final throes, if you will, of both those series, and then just a whole new slate of Dark Horse books that are coming out this summer. And so it's been a lot, but I'm just super excited to keep it. But no, I don't have any answers on how I'm balancing it all. That's
it's magic. It is. You're just getting through the days. Yeah. Well, it's special too, because if anybody's kept up with your work, there's not just your names familiar on there, but there's a couple other ones like Tiago and Hassan. Like, you guys are kind of slowly building this dynasty at Dark Horse that rivals maybe some 90s Bulls, some Kobe Shaq. Like, what's going on?
Nice.
How do you guys move from book to book? What is that about?
Well, as far as so I'm working with Thiago Rocha is my colorist, and I first discovered his work, and he collaborated with me on The Midnight Shadows, which was a collab we did with one of the largest synthwave bands in the world, The Midnight, and that came out a couple years ago, and I just fell in love with his work. Very cinematic, and I can't quit him. So I put him on Kill All Immortals, which has been amazing, and then I put him on Masterminds, and now he's doing Only the Savage Are Left with Us, and it's been, he is got a daunting amount of work, and it's actually been logistically really, kind of a balancing act to make sure that he is able to go from one to the next. And there were a couple moments where just in the past few months where he was overloaded, but he pulled through and did an amazing job on all the books. Hassan Otsmain Elhau is one of the best letters in the business. And, I just absolutely love working with him. And he effortlessly goes through so many different styles when it comes to lettering a book. Same with Tom Muller on logos and design. So it's like with artists, I like to work with different artists because different artists can bring a different kind of style. And obviously Stephen Thompson or John Pearson or Stefano Raffaele, they are all very different artists, and they need to be doing different books. But Hassan or Tom or Thiago, like, they're versatile, and I love working with those guys over and over again. So as far as having kind of a bench on the creative team that I just going to, they're just they're just absolutely fantastic, all three of those guys. So it's been fun to work with the same guys again and again.
And I'm sure at this point too, there's that air of familiarity where you kind of already can get inside of each other's minds, to where when you're first starting out with somebody, there's a lot of just feeling each other out. But right now it's kind of just that well-oiled machine.
Yeah, I mean, Hassan knows exactly kind of what I'm looking for and what I like in terms of different lettering styles, or the way I like to, handle different balloon placements on the page and stuff like that. And I think my voiceovers or narrations have a certain rhythm that he really captures well. Or Thiago, like, I'm really, a fan of cinematic palettes, and it's really amazing to say to him, like, okay, for Masterminds, we want kind of a very Fincher-esque palette, and go look at some of these Fincher films, and then he'll come back and we'll talk about colors that are completely absent, or these lean along on like greens and grays and reds, but there's maybe not a lot of bright yellows or bright
Yeah.
purples and things like that. And so he's really, and then we'll say, okay, for Only the Savage Are Left, we really want kind of a hell or high water kind of
Yeah.
sepia western sort of energy to this, and he brings a whole different kind of style to that. But he's always very good at working in the shadow work, and just the level of detail he does, and kind of the lighting, the gradation as light hits something. He's really phenomenal at, and I just love that. So
Same.
yeah, I mean, I'm very I really want the books, anything I work on, the aesthetic to feel really kind of immersive and unique all at the same time. So it really, yeah, it is a well-oiled machine to be able to like say, here's what we want, and to collaborate.
Yeah,
Great, yeah,
absolutely. I mean, Masterminds is kind of like that suspenseful thriller to where everything is colored more dark and that aesthetic is there.
yes,
Kind of almost like a Blade Runner because there are a lot of like flashy, vibrant lights as far as running around the city. And then Kill All the Mortals is, Severance and John Wick. So there's a lot of bloody action sequences. And then just you hit the color because that's the first thing I noticed with Only the Savage Are Left. So before we kind of dive into it, what can you tell everybody
yes.
about this book? What is this book about?
This is, I guess, in a weird way, it's my love letter and my opportunity to kind of follow in the footsteps of some of my favorite post-apocalyptic stories. I've
Yeah.
always loved Mad Max. I've loved Walking Dead. I've loved Last of Us. Fallout, the game. I'm in it, and it was just me saying, okay, well, what's my version of this? What's my modern spin? And I think it was a couple different things. One, it was recognizing that I really would love to tell this story through a younger person's eyes and less about the immediate conflict of protecting your loved ones, and kind of ask some bigger existential questions about what should our place be in a world that's being overrun
Yeah.
with monsters. What is our agency and our responsibility in the world? And I felt looking at the story through a younger man's eyes really gave an interesting opportunity to that. And the other thing was, what if you survive the zombie or the monster apocalypse, but you had to become savage yourself? And that was the theme and the kind of the groundwork that gave way to the series.
Yeah, and so many of these stories,
I'm not losing you or anything.
I mean, you were cut a little bit, and it frozen a little bit, but you're good. I am very much able to still hear you and keep up.
Okay,
But one thing I definitely noticed
good, cool.
was, there is a theme throughout any, post-apocalyptic. You have to give up a certain piece of yourself, and I think what you brought into this right off the bat is your two main characters that we're kind of focused on, Ryder and Oakland, who are two sides of the coin. You have Ryder, who's very much that young man who's, in this case, he's inexperienced, and you kind of get a little hint into their lives. So what went into creating these two characters that you're focusing?
Yeah, I mean, it was very much that it, like, for me, when I'm creating characters, it's really important to know the themes and the conversation that I want to be having with the reader and with the audience. And so this is really a question of, what would you do if you could survive, but you had to harm someone else to do that? And so obviously that's the kind of the moral question I want to be very much of the starting point of saying, no, I don't want to have to harm anybody. This kind of idea that we've played with for a long time, which is they go low, you go high, or you just
Oh
stay
yeah.
out of the fray. And it's something I feel myself. What's the smart way to handle this? So what's the big person way to handle this? We learn not to hurt one another. And so
Yeah.
he comes from this kind of, he's a good kid. He doesn't want to hurt anybody. He doesn't want to have to get out there and turn, even if it's a monster, he doesn't want to have to become a violent person. These monsters used to be people, and he's an open one that has learned to like fend for herself. She kind of doesn't she does ask questions later. She's a
Yeah.
real kind of driven, determined person. And so what's really fun is setting up that they have this love story. Not only are their personalities pulling them in different directions, but you kind of don't know this is a tragedy or what's the story about. Can they make it? They're so different. They have such different kind of worldviews. So it's really it really
Yeah.
comes from kind of trying to create different characters that represent this kind of question that I want to explore.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that really stood out to me in this first issue was you could almost have like this Tarantino style storytelling in this, where your other stories you might be telling things in a sequential format, but this one you really do a great job of giving us a little bit of like their relationship and then bringing us to where we're at in the present, maybe taking us around a little bit, intersecting these stories. So this is kind of a different take for you. Was that difficult at all, or is this your first instinct right off the bat?
No, it was my first instinct, and I played like Kill All Immortals will have like flashbacks at the opening that kind of capture family as they used to be
Yeah.
or phrase past. But this definitely is a lot more non-linear, and it does jump back and forth between different periods of time, both before the outbreak and after the outbreak. And actually, there are a couple different phases of the outbreak that we jump around in as the story progresses. And I think it was, look, this is a story about transformation, and this is a story about, like any good post-apocalyptic story kind of says, who were you and who do you become? And so it was just a great opportunity to tell the story non-linearly in different moments, and to kind of capture characters, and I wanted to challenge the readers. I mean, I feel like the readers are smart. I want to give them the story. I don't think that we even reference when it's past or present. It's
No.
just
Yeah, you don't. I know like there's a point
you
where it's
kind of
like
figure
5
it out
years
immediately
off.
because it's pre-outbreak.
Yeah,
There's one mention where we're like 5 years later, but then it'll be in the middle of the story, and it'll cut back to like a moment
exactly.
where they're in school or something, and it's just there, and you're like, you, of course,
But
that this is before, and then we're back to the
yeah,
post-apocalyptic world, and then we're after. So yeah. But no, it was fun, and it's been fun to write nonlinear. I like writing nonlinear. It's really interesting. It's provocative because it gives you a chance to kind of constantly be surprised, and then it gives you a chance to like really connect what's going on in the present and what's going on in the past. Their love story, and I think the questions that you know Ryder's being confronted with about when he chooses to act and when he waits. And these are questions that he didn't just face post-apocalyptic, he faced this always. And so it's kind of like
yeah,
sometimes we have to make different choices, but these choices we have to fail once to succeed. So it's just fun to kind of explore these characters and the choices they've made before and after.
absolutely. And I know you touch
Yeah.
on a little bit there when we do get to kind of see the beginning of things. There's something really cool that I thought you did, and I'm not really going to spoil it, but they almost do survive the outbreak. And then it's really kind of this look into humanity. And we've even
Yes.
seen it in the modern day. So was there a lot of, I know you've kind of talked about the, they go low, we go high. How much of, our experience with things like the pandemic when we were close in some areas and then we kind of rolled our way back, did that play into your storytelling?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can have an outbreak story and not think about COVID. It's just kind of a part of our DNA now and what we went through. So yeah, I think it's not. I don't have any direct commentary on COVID per se in this book, at least. but
Well, yeah,
but I
no,
think
it's
what
it's
was
not, but
apparent
there are
to
some
me,
hints of like humanity within it
I
still
think
that was like, oh man, wow.
what's apparent is and I mean, what this story says is that we discover a cure, and the cure
Yeah.
is, I mean, this is intrinsic to this is part of the premise. The cure is that you get infected, you have 3 days, you can find someone else, and if you kill another infected person and do awful things, burn their body and inhale the smoke, it's very creepy and grotesque. But if
Yeah.
you do this thing, you can survive the infection. Uh, but you're basically, wow, that's the grotesque nuts and bolts of it. At the core, it's basically saying, would you harm another person to survive turning into a monster? And the answer is obviously yes. But it turns us all into monsters and animals, and it basically kind of captures something that we learned all too well during the pandemic, which is people are not going to follow the rules or follow what the government asked them to do. People don't come together to help one another all the time. Sometimes they are just looking out for themselves.
Yeah.
And so I think that harkens back and makes us feel like, oh yeah. And I mean, I think that's just something that's really, it's funny to me when I come up with these stories, and like the same thing happened with like Port of Earth. I came up with Port of Earth, and Port of Earth was what would if aliens came with a business deal. And then it happened right around kind of an era of analyzing what makes a good business deal. And so it had all this more kind of topical kind of, you
Yeah.
know, or yeah, and it's like, or Breakout is a story about what would happen if ships only abducted young people. And I feel like 20 years ago, you'd say like that would never happen. And now we go, oh yeah, society would totally let that happen. So there's always this kind of like, I like coming up with a story where it just presents circumstances that we kind of go, I think if I looked at this 5 or 10 years ago, I would have felt differently about it. But now I totally buy. This feels timely and modern because, so yeah, you can't help but
The
feel
way we're
that way
at. Yeah.
about
It's there. It's a part
about
of
it.
us every day. Yeah. And every
Yeah, but
time
I
you go
think,
out
listen,
or
yeah, that's the question. The question of this story is like we all seem to be a little more we're all looking out for ourselves a little more in society. Like it, and what are we supposed to do about that? You know, what do you do about the amount of savagery we see on television every week and every month? And what do we do about feeling like we've accepted a world, like the world just has monsters and we accept it? So I
yeah.
like these kinds of big questions, and then you wrap it all in this like fun, cool action book about monsters, you know, but it does more than just entertain you. It kind of makes you think, and it makes you wonder like, well, what would I do in this?
Oh, 100%. I think that's when I got done reading it, and I read it a couple times just because each time I felt like I picked up something new, or I just would kind of sit there with it because that is the big question is, hey,
Yeah,
how far would you go for either yourself or the person you love? And you really just kind of, it's a book where you sit there, and yes, it is beautiful and it is awesome. It's like a Western zombie, which I'm going to dive into some of the creature things in a moment, but you really just kind of sit there and you're like, man, there really is. And I think that's what you do extremely well with your books is it's more
thank
than
you.
just action, here it is you really get the gears turning and make the reader think about what is going on at a deeper level.
I like to find that balance. Yeah, it is. Listen, also, it is beautiful. I'm excited that you brought up the Western sort of vibes because I mentioned that with the colors. Stefano Raffaele is the artist on this, and like some of the landscapes and some of the like that he just it's dripping with just atmosphere and world.
It
So,
is. Yeah,
yeah, I'm really excited for readers to check out. There's a smattering of preview pages that we just dropped a week ago, but and the trailer has some hints, but it is really, and we try to find those quiet, calm moments that I think work so well in a post-apocalyptic story. Just seeing a character move through this world and feel that world as you're going on to the next key moment. So yeah, the artwork is really beautiful. I like that kind of. I mean, that to me that atmosphere gives you time to think about those questions that I want
absolutely.
readers. Yeah.
And speaking of, because I know like we talked about the colors, of course, but there are the designs of the creatures that we do meet, because there are quite a few different aspects of the creatures. So what went into creating the creatures that we're going to be meeting in this story?
Yeah, I mean, first off, it was really important to retain some hint of humanism to the creatures. So no matter how far gone they are, even the behemoth that we see, that it still has the general shape of a man or of a
Yeah,
woman, of a person. And it was really important to see that. And then when someone's first infected, to see that they're still human. They're also not decomposing like a zombie is decomposing.
right.
Like there's a level of function. This is a functioning creature. This is a ferocious creature. So we see claws, we see teeth, we see touches of this creature intends to do harm to others. We definitely wanted to stay away from any demonic feels. So, like, we spent a great deal of time talking about the color of the skin. We didn't want these creatures to be red. We wanted them to feel
Yeah.
like they're of the earth. They're human beings that transformed.
You definitely get a lot of
So,
earthy tones with the colors is one thing that I did
yeah,
pick up on, and it bleeds into the aesthetic that you guys have in this. That's
yeah, we
really
wanted
awesome.
it to
Okay, I was
feel
picking that up.
organic. We wanted it to feel a little unsettling, but we didn't want this to feel like a metaphor for like hell exploding on earth. This is
Right.
us. This is human beings exploding on ourselves essentially. So it is more yellow and tan and sepia in the tone, and the monsters are designed in this more organic beastie sort of way. And then we have all different kinds of shades of monsters, and there are different, the creatures veer left or veer right in certain design ways that I won't spoil too much, but we do have fun playing with just little touches of the types of creatures that you see as the book goes on, which is a lot of fun. I mean, obviously, if you've seen the first cover, there's a big guy, a big monster, and then yeah, he's right there. He
Got
is.
the ash can right
So
here. Yeah, there is this
yeah,
big
the
boy right
monsters
here.
can get
Yeah.
big, which is fun too. I like okay, monsters can get really big in this story, so they're not just all, you know, little man zombie types. They're big ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, we put a lot of thought into what we wanted those monsters and creatures to feel, and Stefano and I really had a lot of kind of deep conversations about that design element, because it's very important that it feels still based at the core in a humanoid sort of
Oh,
energy.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is, and then it really does. And there's a lot of really cool designs that I think people are going to be into. And then there's some parts too, especially the ending of the book, that I'm not going to spoil. But I was really pleasantly surprised at some of the direct, like especially the end where you guys took it. And I finished it, and I immediately hit up the Nerd Initiative Discord and the comic bullpen there, and I said, guys, this book is going to be an absolute summer classic and a bang. Like, this book is
Thank you.
going to rock, and I think a lot of people, because it's not just zombies. Yeah, some people might get the zombie out, but you can see the influences. But again, it's something that makes you think, and that's what a really good book does, is it makes you.
Yeah, I think that having that premise be that you can save yourself, but there's transformation going on, really opens up the door to all sorts of extra story elements here, because you know you're transforming into a monster and then you can stop it. So I don't want to spoil too much, but
No, yes,
we really have a lot of fun with it, and yeah, I'm feeling banger vibes, to be
I
honest with you. I can feel a
absolutely.
bit of a buzz on this book, and I'm really excited about it. Yeah, I'm excited to listen. Like it's a little not daunting, but it's like, am I really gonna do a post-apocalyptic book? Because like when you do a post-apocalyptic book, you cannot half-ass this. Like, you know, the best of the Walking Dead, Last of Us, like these are amazing, amazing
Yeah.
works. And so to even say that I'm going to try to follow in the footsteps in any way, shape, or form and give readers, you know, the 2026 taste of something like that is like, okay, we better roll up our sleeves and get to work and make sure this is for real. But I feel really good about it. So I'm really excited for readers to check it out. I feel like if you like that sort of story, it's 2026. I don't know if there's another post-apocalyptic monster book coming out this year. So we got you.
Think so. Yeah, honestly. And if you're looking for something, I know it's different. I don't know how to explain it without spoiling, but just know you're going into this world with a very different vibe than what you would expect, while also getting those beats from a post-apocalyptic zombie type story.
Yeah.
And it's got me buzzing. I can't wait. Final order cutoff April 27th. A book comes out
Yeah,
June
just
3rd, and
around the
it's
corner, Monday.
5
And there's
issues.
some killer
Is there
5
an
issues.
opening?
Although, listen, yeah, I mean, absolutely the same thing happened with Kill All Immortals. You know, Kill All
Absolutely.
Immortals, we came out. Kill All Immortals was a 5-issue miniseries, and it did well enough. Everybody out there who's listening came in for that book, and we showed that book had legs, and we took that book further. And so, absolutely, I don't know how we take this further. I don't know if we would go by season like we did, or if we would just roll right on and start doing, you know, 6, 7, 8 and go on past 5. I don't know. All I know is we have the first story, we have the first arc mapped. The book could end there and be incredibly fulfilling as this experience. But if we get the right response on the book, we would absolutely consider taking it further. And I don't say that about everything. I would, if you had asked me if I would take Masterminds further, I'd say no. Masterminds is absolutely contained, and it ends when it ends, and that is it. But yeah, but for right now, this is a 5-issue series, and there's some great covers on it too. I'll tell you, we've got
Oh yeah.
in addition to that amazing cover, Marco Mastrazo has just such a killer moody color. Oh my god, when he's got the eye and the gun, it's just so good. And
Yes.
then Todd Beats has a cover. I'm not going to say who's on that cover, but it's an amazing cover. And then David Mack is an incentive cover that's out there. Wayshack has a variant that you can only find at like a dozen stores. So definitely look up that. So a lot of cool covers on.
Absolutely. A lot of great covers. And as we wrap up here, Zach, where can people expect to find you this summer, once, you know, between now and when the book comes out, and then once the book actually hits shelves, to come and chat with about it?
I'm actually, as this is going up right now, I'm at Calgary Fan
Ooh,
Expo. So yeah, which is really I'm excited to check out Calgary. My first time there. Then I'm doing
very good pick.
Denver Fan Expo Denver at the end of May.
Yeah.
And then I will be at San Diego, of course, and
Me
looking
too.
forward always New York Comic Con and maybe a few others.
Right on.
I'll have to see. I'll do some signings for Only the Savage Are Left when it comes out June 3rd in the Southern California, Los Angeles area. So for all that, and you guys can follow me online at Zack Caps on.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure to come to chat and get not just this book, but check out all the books that Zack has worked on, because each one is very different, but they're all very good.
Thank you. Yeah, Kill All Immortals is wrapping up right now. We're gonna have a third arc
sad.
coming back in October. I'll have to come back and tell you more about that. Yes, it's gonna be so good.
I'm so in the bag
Masterminds
for
is
that
wrapping
series.
up. That'll be in trade paperback in end of summer, early fall. And then I have a book called The Smart Division with John J. Pearson. We're about to. We just dropped a few more covers on that, and very excited to start talking about that book. But that's a crime thriller about the first AI crime app. So I'll definitely have to come back and tell you more about that. Yeah, that one's going to be awesome. But very different.
You already know.
You know, I have two lanes. I like to do my Kill All Immortals, and Only the Savage Are Left is kind of in that lane of like action. And then I've got my thrillers and masterminds, and so the Smart Division is another kind of like thriller like that. So yeah, a lot more coming this summer. It's going to be a great summer. So. Yeah.
Heck yeah. And I can't wait. I will be at San Diego, so I'm pretty pumped to.
I will see you there for sure. We'll hang
finally
out.
We're gonna get to meet up, and then hopefully be at New York as well. So once these all come out, we'll get to chat a little bit, maybe just get to meet up and shoot it, and it'd be great, because I haven't gotten to know you over the last couple of years, and your works, man. I really appreciate it. So
absolutely,
everybody else, make sure to subscribe. Please go let your comic book shops know. That is the best way to get these comic books out there, is they pay attention to FOCs. That's the biggest thing that a lot of these companies do. So go let your comic book shops know you want Only the Savage Are Left. Pick up Zack's other works, and everybody subscribe to Nerd Initiative, your home for comic books, and we will see you guys later on. Cheers.